And today we have Laurie's Tomb Kings versus JJ's very own Dwarfs.
He's just taking so much damage. Yeah,
So
Laurie's just pounced all over my backline with his Tomb Scorpions, Shabby, War Sphinx. I was watching Cetra and I was just like, can I just get like a lucky cannonball shot? And actually just bring him down to under 300 health there.
it's eaten in. So the Slayers have got to the Tomb Scorpion here. And you can see the Tomb Scorpion's health has gone down. Hammer of Karak Draz has also debuffed it slightly. His health is going down. You might be able to take out the Tomb Scorpion.
So very well played to Laurie this game, I have to say. He picked apart the Dwarven force.
Hello Internet, I am the Fawns 270 and welcome back to the steamed Warhams Open Championships. I'm here with Grudge Bearer JJ himself.
It's me!
It's still him, getting grudgier by the second. And we're here today with our second semi-final. This is to determine who will face Laurie in our grand final to find out who the ultimate winner. And in it we have Alex's Vampire Counts versus JJ's Dwarves once again. Man, I didn't think so many of these videos would end up being with you in them. But here we are. What's Alex bringing? So, he's got 5 units of zombies in the front line. We're going for the Walking Dead here. And one of them is actually the Tithe. I've actually never seen this regiment of renown before, and I was super happy to learn they're called the Tithe. I thought it was super cool. Unit 200 zombies with slightly stripier trousers than their normal zombie brethren there. Very creepy. They're backed up by some Graveguard. We've got 3 units of Graveguard, and one of them is the Stearnsman, as we know Alex likes to bring. There's also 2 units of Cairn Wraiths, which is exceptionally spooky behind them. Very spooky army bringing today. With a Mortis Engine, as well as 2 Banshees and Manfred von Karstein. That's kind of the main bulk of his army here. He also has some units on his right-hand flank. He's got a unit of Black Knights, as well as a Black Coach, and some Fellbats. So quite a variety of units here, slightly more than we're used to seeing in the past. It's interesting, he's definitely changed things up here to try and take on JJ's Dwarves. So, when faced with such hordes of the Walking Dead, JJ, how do you answer?
Well, after last game, I realised I need a lot more anti-large, and I know for a fact that Alex likes to take things like Black Coach, Knights, Mortis Engine, that sort of thing. So I thought, you know what, let me just bring more of these anti-large troops.
You're probably
I also wanted to get I also wanted to get Gotrek back because I wanted the magical attacks to deal with all these ghosty boys such as Cairn Wraiths and Banshees, etc. He loves taking some Banshees. But I'll just go over the list here. We've got in the front line a Miners unit with blasting charges. If I can get them off on something like a Graveguard or whatever early, I'll do a lot of damage. 3 units of Dwarf Warriors is our front line. A Runesmith non-ghost version.
What? I can see this one. What's he doing?
This is not an ancestor. This is a current cester.
Present sister, yes.
Presentator. And he's with my man Belagar, Iron Hammer, love him. Behind them, I've got a unit of long beards with grey weapons, giving that leadership buff. Just the 1 unit of Thunderers. I didn't have to deal with as much armor for this game, I don't believe, with things like Vampire Count. So I instead invested in 2 units of Rangers. They're a bit cheaper. Behind them, I'm trying out the Iron Drakes with the Troll Hammer Torpedoes. They're anti-large and armor piercing. I've seen some people play online with them and thought, yeah, I'll give them a go. 1 cannon, dropped down from 2. I've got 2 units of Slayers, and hidden in this back corner I also have the man himself, the dwarf himself, Gotrek.
The man dwarf himself.
Gotrek Gurnisson.
Oh, what a man.
So yeah, how about we see how this one goes, Martin?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hit play. Sorry, I interrupted you slightly there when you were talking about your army, but I imagine when I talk about the anti-large, you're probably expecting some Crypt Horrors from Alex as well, because we know we've seen him use those quite a lot. But opted against it this time. I do think the Cairn Wraiths are a good idea to try and chop through some dwarves. I think they'll be quite good at getting through the front line. But yeah, it looks like we've began shambling forward here, as so the plan would be. I'm not sure where it's cannon range. They'll be entering cannon range any moment now in the right-hand flank. We have the bats and the knights and the black coach all riding up on the flank. So we're going to see what...
He did take the Crypt Horrors last game and done very well against Sean, so I thought, I mean, things like Rangers are actually quite good against them because they don't have a lot of armour, so I don't need the armour piercing anyway. I've spotted his right flank coming over, so as you can see, I'm just posturing, manoeuvring my army about to try and deal with this threat as it's coming. And we all know the front line for the vampire counts is often very slow, so they're just slowly coming across here.
Yeah, mentioning the Sternsman there, he obviously needs these more elite infantry to punch through the line. These zombies are good for kind of eating fire and eating, taking some hits early on, but if these Graveguard don't make it to the line healthy, if these Cairn Race can't, don't make it, then there's going to be nothing to punch through this wall of metal of dwarves that these things are going to run into. So it's important that they get there in decent shape. But oh my god, the Sternsman, yeah, the cannon is absolutely decimating them there. He's turned them sideways and they're in a box formation, so it doesn't actually matter what angle they get hit from. They're going to be taking the same kind of damage. Oh, a nice Serpentine there though. Well, that was good. Some Twinkle Toes here. They're now behind the Mortis Engine. I wonder if he's trying to use the Mortis Engine as a kind of shield.
Well, it's ethereal, I suppose. So that's not the worst thing if it takes some of the hits. I've seen his feral bats come over and try and stop the shooting of the cannons, but the dwarfs got them on hand just to see off any threats on them.
Feral bats are going to have not going to have a great time against Slayers, I imagine. Always bigger than I think they are, the feral bats. They're actually spooky creatures when you see one actually with a group of dwarfs. But yeah, that one gets chopped down. Very unfortunate. And the cannons, fairly unhampered by this, are just going to continue firing. This horde is getting closer though. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when these zombies just run into these doors front line. I mean, if they can tie up enough units, your spaced out formation here, in theory, they could tie up enough units and create gaps for the Cairn Race to get in behind. I think that would be a good idea. Looks like your miners are running forward here, trying to get your blasting charges off before the zombies hit them.
Yeah, I'm trying to hit the Cairn Race just because I think they do fire damage, so I'm hoping that will be able to hurt them quite a lot. But I end up...
It's hard to say, but...
Well, it's not right about actually.
It's okay. They're a very tanky unit, the Cairn Race. It's hard to gauge your value there when it's damage and they're not losing models per se.
So Alex has came in on the flank as his main line has reached me, and I've dropped the slowdown from the runesmith on the cavalry, and now I've just sent all my longbeards etc. to deal with these, and they're taking absolute pounding these black knights.
Yeah, the longbeards are in now to chop them down as well. They're already down to half health. That is grim. Do all Dwarf Warriors have charge bonus against large? I'm not sure if that's the case. They do, all of so the black knights, they're not, these aren't blood knights, these are just black knights, so there is a kind of, I don't think they quite have the punch power to get through a line of dwarves. The Thunderers are now seeing them off as well, so the morale's shock. Very low health. The black coach has come in, try and help the zombies out and get in. That's interesting, so there is a kind of beefier unit in here, but yeah, it looks like the zombies have hit the line, but there's a lot of sort of more elite units backing them up in places. This area here looks quite good. There's Cairn Race into the Dwarf Warriors on this side, which should be quite good. But yeah, we're kind of, at this point, you're letting the zombies eat up some damage here, but you need your elite troops. The Vamps need their Graveguard and their Cairn Race to be doing more damage here. Mortis Engine taking an absolute pummeling from the Thunderers and the Torpedoes. It's actually just been destroyed. That was absolute brutality from the Dwarves there.
Just focusing it down. I couldn't have it healing the rest of his army, and as soon as I get that finished off, then that's one less thing I need to worry about for the grind.
Yeah, it's a big target. The Black Knights have come in again to try again on this flank, but the Slayers have moved over to see them, and that's going to be the end of the Black Knights. Looks like the coach is about to break through. It might manage to interrupt some shooting over here, but it looks like there's like 7 units ploughed into this one unit of Dwarf Warriors on the front. This is brutal. There's so many vampire count units not doing anything here. Shame, it looks like the zombies are actually the one in the front, so very little damage will be getting done here. Oh, that's a cannonball flies through a lot of them there. Manfred and 2 Banshees in here as well. I can't say this is efficient at all.
That cannonball actually wiped out so many zombies that allowed some of the Graveguard to get through, so like that was actually a benefit for Alex, kind of.
Solid assist from the cannon. There's a few undead units standing around idle as well, so these Cairn Race and these Graveguard, these are 2 of the elite units. These need to get in and start disrupting stuff in the back line. Zombies running off the flank there. There's also some Cairn Race up here fighting some Dwarf Warriors along with Belagar. I'm not sure if Belagar alone would be enough to fight off the Cairn Race. Along the Dwarf Warriors.
More to tie them up. I just want to stop them getting into my range units. I've noticed that
the Banshees are
I've seen Manfred von Karstein's on his horse, so I've started getting some of my range units to shoot into
Oh
him.
no, that's absolute target acquired by the dwarfs there. We've seen
Exactly.
this before.
I've now deemed it worthy for Gotrek and his contingent of Slayers to move down.
Oh, Blackcoat's taking it as well.
I wanted to keep them in the back trees as long as possible, just so to try and get Alex to sort of overcommit a bit if he could, and then I'll just counter-attack. But
Right.
I've seen the two Banshees in the cairn
Ooh,
raids
lot of
fighting
explosives.
Belagar, and I'm like, let me get Gotrek down to
This
deal with
ball of undead is now taking a lot of hits. The torpedoes, the cannons, the arrows, the guns, everything, every kind of ranged projectile that exists in this game is currently landed on, I believe, Manfred and any Sternsmen that are nearby.
Oh, there he goes.
Manfred just absolutely melted there. Absolute brutality, as I say. We've seen this before. This is, I would say, one of your greatest strengths. Dwarves in general and yourself, picking up the Lord. There he goes. Nothing you can do about it. That will be an absolute shock to the Vampire Count's morale. No heroes remaining. Actually, no, the Banshees are heroes. I don't know if they buff morale, though. Is that a thing?
I'm not sure.
Unsure.
I think most heroes tend to.
Tend to, yeah. So they've still got the Banshees alive. So the Graveguard and the Cairn Wraiths are managing to get into the back line here. These are the ones that were kind of idling for a little while. So this will disrupt in the back. And as I said, these are Graveguard and Cairn Wraiths, so these are strong units that are getting in here. But there's still quite a lot of Dwarfs here. The Rangers have a good firing angle into the back of them. There's Slayers here not really doing much. This Runesmith, that's what they're called. I was saying Runepriest. Yeah, the Runesmith's still just buffing all these dwarves taking on the main ball of undead. There's still a lot of Graveguard here, but one of them's crumbling, it looks like. Yeah, and there's still plenty of dwarfs as well. And because the flank on this flank was handled so handily, the dwarfs could just move over into this ball of undead. And that's the crumble. There it is. Oh, that's a shame. So even though those elite units were starting to get in the back, it was too little, too late. There we go. Well played, JJ. Well played.
Thank you. They keeping the Runesmith where it was to sort of defend that whole flank from like the knights and all the units charging up. One unit of dwarf warriors just with the buffs from like giving them extra armor, etc. That mixed with the zombies sort of getting in the way just gave that flank enough time that the rest of the army could just annihilate whatever it wanted, really. So things like Mortis Engine, Black Coach, Manfred. Yeah, I think I knew roughly what I was getting into playing against Alex's vampire accounts, and I think the build was just very strong to play against Alex. So
yeah, I can see where Alex was thinking. I could see why the zombies eating up the fire, trying to tie up some units and get your more elite ones in the back. I can see what he was thinking with this. Unfortunately, in the game that this is, it's easy for one or two little mistakes to all of a sudden turn a whole battle on its head. And I think what happened here, there was just a couple little misplays, and everything went dwarfs heavy from there. So it's unfortunate. Alex did do very well, and he is, with this loss, cemented in our third place position for the tournament. So well done to him, because he's gotten much further than most. Did very well, a very strong showing for most of the tournament. I just think there was one too many things went wrong here at once, and it kind of snowballed. Unfortunate, but that does mean that the Grudge Bearer gets his chance. He's got his book open. We do have our final,
yes,
our final lined up. It's Laurie versus JJ. A rematch.
Revenge shall be mine.
There we go, and it's very exciting. So both players know what they're in for. They faced each other before, not long ago, and they're going to get to tweak their list accordingly. So we're going to get a rematch. Dwarfs versus Tomb Kings. We'll see you guys there.
You then.